Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here on Prime and Go. Today we're going to be doing another one of our lore videos, and we're going to be covering a topic that I keep seeing popping up on Facebook in the aftermath of the Burning of Prospero box set's release. And that is, could Magnus the Red be redeemed and rejoin the Imperium? And then that topic branches off to, could he help maybe restore the Emperor, and yada yada yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to answer that question, and I'm also going to expand it to the other demonic Primarchs as well, or the traitorous Primarchs, to see whether or not they could be redeemed. Now, for those of you who don't have 30 minutes or so to actually listen to this entire video, the short answer is no, they cannot. They will not, unless GW decide to go about it a different way and maybe n times 40k. That's the only way I can see it personally happening. So, why is that? Well, the simple reason is they are demons now, and you cannot simply just walk away from being a demon. They are a part of that chaotic god, as are other demons. Now, you may argue the fact that they were mortal once, so they could return to that state. Yes, in a way that could be true, but some Primarchs like Fulgrim, for example, had his mortal form destroyed, therefore he's got nothing to return to. And not only that, when a demon is, rather a person is possessed by a demon, if that possession is reverted and taken away, the aspects that was influenced on that person, for example, let's say if you was possessed by Nurgle. Nurgle obviously bloats you, yeah, it's not pretty. What happens when Nurgle takes you over? Your entire body inflates with pusses and boils and, yeah, all manner of nasty stuff. You essentially rot, but don't die. And the pain and everything that is there is pleasure to you. However, when Nurgle takes his influence away, you lose all the powers, but you keep the rot, the pusses, the boils, the pain. But now you've got your sanity back, and you are thinking, whoa, damn, yeah, this is not a good situation anymore. Which is another thing that you have to actually think of in regards to the actual demon Primarchs that we're in. They are not themselves anymore. They are heavily influenced by their chaotic gods, and therefore don't think the way they used to. They are essentially parts of the gods. And to use an example of what happened on a planet called Davin with Horus, when he actually was cut by a demonic possessed blade, and yeah, nasty stuff happened. To get to the point, he basically took on someone who was demonically possessed by Nurgle again, and whilst he was fighting and the guy was possessed by Nurgle, or influenced and empowered, I should say, he was basically saying, you must join Nurgle, you don't understand the ways and all the rest. Basically a fanatic who was saying you must join Nurgle and praising the word. However, when he lost the fight against Horus, Nurgle retracted his influence from him, and he got his sanity back. And all of a sudden he was thinking, why did I do that? So all that parts of him, his reason and all the rest of it, was locked away, and it was only his darkest emotions and everything that was at the fore. So it was a twisted version of himself, and when he was restored to normal, he basically regretted everything instantly, but he couldn't go back because Horus had practically killed him. So for demonic influence to be removed, the subject must pretty much be on the verge of death. Like Horus, for example, keeping on with the Horus story, when he was fighting the Emperor, when the Emperor actually dealt the final blow to Horus, he had a moment where he could have spared him. He obviously gathered his psychic might, shot through the gap made by Sanguinius, and essentially immolated his soul, which, yeah, is pretty bad. And just as he was about to burn him out of existence, the chaotic gods fled from Horus, and Horus instantly came back to normal and realised, oh my god, what have I done? But at that moment, the Emperor realised, no, sorry mate, you've gone too far, you could be possessed again, and I'm not going to be around to stop you next time. And then went the extra little mile and killed him outright, and there is no physical way Horus could ever return. He's gone for good. He doesn't have a soul anymore. He didn't go into the Sea of Souls, otherwise known as the Warp. He was extinguished. He's gone. So there's no way he can come back. And using that example, if you was to think about one of the current demon Primarchs to actually rejoin the Imperium, first they have to become normal and human again, because they can't live outside of the warp in their current state, and they can't physically do that because they're a part of the chaotic god now, and we don't know for sure whether or not they still have their corporeal forms, and I don't believe they do, because if they did and it was just like their corporeal forms and then they had power on top, they could leave the warp whenever they want, because they're not a denizen of the warp. But as a demon Primarch, they are, and they can't physically leave. So yeah, for that reason alone, these demonic Primarchs cannot be redeemed. Now let's say, for example then, if GW did work a storyline where they could be redeemed and they actually lose their demonic possession. Now bearing in mind what I've just said, they would have to physically die for the Primarchs to actually lose the influence of the chaotic god. Essentially they are part of the chaotic god. They're not influenced, they are part of him or her in the case of Slaanesh. So there's no physical way that they can actually get out of that, but let's say they do. Now the thing, now you've got to think, do they actually still have a body? In the case of Fulgrim, no. It was destroyed by Perturabo, so he is done. He is dead, and he is warped so far beyond recognition. He is, yeah, no, not going to happen again. So let's bring this up. Let's say they could actually become their old selves, uninfluenced, back to normal Primarchs. At this point in time, let's say again extend that to their legions. Their legions lose possessions as well. Now we have another problem, wherein the Inquisition exists, and the Imperium is pretty pissed at these Primarchs for what they've done, to put it lightly. So now they've got to actually get to the Imperium and rejoin it. Now in the case of Magnus, he didn't ask for what happened to him. He was forced into it, as I mentioned earlier. But in the eyes of the Imperium, he's still a traitor. So there's nothing physically he can do to actually redeem that. So if they did become normal again and think, you know what, we'll join the Imperium, and they bring their legions on, they will essentially be fighting another civil war to actually get to Terror itself. As soon as they find out, oh my god, there is 6 Primarchs, traitor Primarchs, heading to Terror, I guarantee you that the Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum will be mobilized, along with the Inquisition and every single chapter available. They will go ham on these guys. They will go so bad, crazy on them that, yeah, they will do their utmost to destroy these. The Inquisition will not have this, and normal Imperial citizens won't either. You gotta think, these for anyone who actually knows about the Horus Heresy, no one's gonna want to trust these guys. So they've got to get over that hurdle. So again, let's assume that they do somehow, and they are accepted, which is highly unlikely. That it's not gonna happen. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Again, this is only if GW N times 40k. This is the only way it can happen. There's no way the storyline will go this far, because not only will, from Games Workshop's perspective, kill Chaos Space Marines dead, with the exception of maybe, I don't know, what's his name again? The leader of the Black Crusades. It'll come to me later on. But yeah, with his status, maybe he would stay, but even so, the Primarchs could break the influence of everyone and then come back to the Imperium, but it's not going to happen because of the Inquisition. So anyway, again, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they do somehow do it. At this point, they've got to go before the Administratum and basically apologize. It's not going to happen. I'm trying to think of how it would work, and the more I think about it, the more I think it can't happen. The Inquisition would not allow it to happen. If this tried to happen, the Inquisition can't exist, because the entire point of the Inquisition is to stop chaotic corruption and to purge those who were corrupted. Now these Primarchs were corrupted, so yeah, it's not possible in a sense. But anyway, okay, let's go back to the Magnus situation. Let's say that Magnus is allowed back into the Imperium, and now again I'm saying that this can't happen. Could he actually help with the whole Emperor on the Golden Throne thing? And we'll expand into this and cover that theory. I would say yes. And now the reason for this is, even if, obviously again, we have to say that he's not demonically possessed anymore, which can't happen. He's rejoined the Imperium, which again can't happen. He's got past the Adeptus Custodes, which can't happen. And he's got past the Sisters of Silence, which again can't happen. So there's a lot of things that we're just theory crafting now to say whether or not he could or couldn't. So the original plan for Magnus, as the Emperor deemed when he made all his sons, he had a plan for everyone. And now the plan for Magnus was he was going to be the chap sat on the Golden Throne like the Emperor is right now, and basically controlling the webway. So it takes a powerful individual to actually sit on this throne, and Malcador the Sigillite, he went on there for a couple of hours and was burnt into nothing, which is actually an interesting point as well. I'll get on that in a moment. So what would essentially need to happen is they would have to disconnect the Emperor from the Golden Throne, and at which point the Emperor will die. He's essentially dead anyway, so as soon as he's disconnected from that throne, he dies. Done. Magnus would then need to sit on that throne himself. He would need to get up, take over the role, and use his entire psychic might to basically do what the Emperor had done. And now this is possible because this is essentially what Malcador the Sigillite did. He was taken from the throne, and the throne was completely unoccupied for that period of time, which means that there is a little bit of a leeway. So if Magnus was to sit on the throne and take over, hopefully, since he was originally planned to sit there, he could actually do the Emperor's job, while the Emperor, being, we hope, a perpetual, which means he's basically immortal and will resurrect, will die, just like Vulcan did many times, and just come back. Fingers crossed. So, assuming again that this happens, at this point in time, we now have the Emperor up and about, and we have Magnus on the Golden Throne. And at this point in time, we could actually start seeing a webway project develop. Now, I want to touch upon something else while I'm actually here as well. That being the Astronomicon. I'm a bit confused, and I'm going to go over what I think the Astronomicon is and how it works. Now, we all know it's basically a psychic lighthouse in the warp, directing ships around. So people say, that's where Terror is, so roughly over here is where I need to go, sort of thing. And the thing is, with the story of 30k, from what I've read so far, it isn't directly powered by the Golden Throne. I believe it's directed by the Golden Throne. Now, we know that there's a certain few thousand psychers being sacrificed every day to the Golden Throne to keep it powered, and these psychers, I believe it's tens of thousands. Now, in the actual book, The Outcast Dead, I believe it is, or Dread, something like that, they actually mention what happens with the Astronomicon. And that is a psyker who cannot be controlled, or is basically too useless to do anything with. They send him into this tower, and in this tower, he is essentially burnt away. Now, here it starts off where his flesh is seared from his bones, then his bones dissolve, and then his soul burns out. It's described a lot more gruesome than that, and it is bad. But that is what happens when these souls are sacrificed to power the Astronomicon. So, if that is how the Astronomicon is empowered, what's with the Golden Throne then? Now, I believe that the Golden Throne is there to obviously keep the Emperor alive, but I think it's also there to protect the Webway project that he was actually fighting for, to keep the demonic entities out. So you've got the Astronomicon constantly being empowered and everything, and then directed by the Emperor and his psychic might. But I believe that the Emperor is actually there in the Golden Throne to actually control the Webway project, to stop the very fragile seals that he actually put over after Magnus decided it was a good idea to break them, and basically be a bastion to stop everything coming through. Now, there are rumours, well, speculations I should say, that the Adeptus Custodes are currently down there along with the Sisters in Silence, constantly fighting demons in an endless war. Now, doing that for 10,000 years, I don't care who you are going to take attrition, and there are going to be some of you dying, and they haven't got that many custodians, so yeah, I don't think that's going to be happening. So yeah, assuming that the Emperor can actually resurrect, I believe that obviously it's not going to happen, because Magnus cannot be redeemed, and neither can any of the other traitorous Primarchs. I believe that if this perfect world were to happen, you would actually see the Imperium start to move forward again, because obviously they need the Emperor to spearhead it. I know some may speculate that the Imperium's too far gone with everything that's going on, but the Emperor managed to stand on a battlefield and make hundreds of thousands of Space Marines kneel at a fort, and even demanded one of the Primarchs knelt as well, and he only influenced them by a tiny portion of his psychic might. So keep that in mind. What do you think a couple of humans are going to do when the Emperor walks in and say, "You gone screwed up"? They are going to bow, just like every human does, when they see a being like this. Now, the way people see the Emperor is just a golden light, and he is all-powerful, all-knowing, and if he resurrects, yeah, the Imperium is going in the right direction. Let's just say with the Emperor at forefront again and back on track, little things like the demonic gulf with the Tau is over, and the Tau are dead, and so are many things. But yeah, I'm rambling on and getting off the point. So back to the point, can the traitorous Primarchs be redeemed? No. As I said at the start of the video, no, they cannot, for the reasons I have already outlined. They cannot break demonic possession. If they did, they cannot get past the Inquisition. If they did, they cannot get past the Adeptus Custodians or the other Space Marine legions. You gotta think that there's a lot of bad blood when it comes to this sort of thing. They cannot be redeemed. They would have to start another civil war to get themselves in a position of power. Look at what happened with the Sisters of Battle with one of the High Lords of Terror. There was essentially a civil war to get this guy off the throne, and that's what it would take for these traitorous Primarchs to be even... They can't be accepted back. It just cannot happen. They would have to take control. So, I hope I've given you guys a little bit of an insight into the lore of Warhammer 40k and whether or not these traitorous Primarchs could ever rejoin the Imperium. And if you have any other topics you'd like me to cover, I do have extensive knowledge on these lore things. So yeah, why not put it in the comment section below and let me know what you'd like me to cover. I am going to be covering codename Jurassic Park Tyranids in a later video. I'm going to go through the book again and make sure I get all the details before I start that, because my knowledge is a bit vague at the moment. I've only read it once. So once I've got that read through again, I'll go over it once again. Yeah, so thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Do subscribe if you like good content here. Once we hit 250 subscribers, we're going to have another giveaway, and again for 500. And if you are looking for any commission painting, check out Titus Miniature Painting Service. He will offer you a 10% off if you quote Prime and Go for all orders over £100. So if you're looking to get some minis painted, he's your tap to go to. He's got some really fantastic work. We've had quite a few commissions from him already, and it's absolutely fantastic. We can't obviously recommend him enough. So anyway, I have now been rambling on for nearly 20 minutes, and I hope your painting or whatever you've been doing has been going well while you've been listening to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye.